Bunelan, and welcome everybody. Thank you as well for your patience this morning. As we said earlier, we were supposed to have started a little earlier, but the minister was kind enough to send us a message. And we are so glad that she's here now. So without wasting any time, we will just start our proceedings. Honorable Minister in the Presidency for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Ms. Marapene Ramakroba, the UN Resident Coordinator in South Africa, Nelson Mufu, Board of Directors of the UN Global Compact Network South Africa, present, our previous chair of the board, Ambassador Nozi General Badil, Group Chief Strategy and Sustainability Officer for ABSA, our gold sponsor, Unki Modise, Executive Head of External Affairs for Anglo-American, and our silver sponsor, Yvonne Follow. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It's a great pleasure to host you this morning, to just first share with you insights from the private sector's voluntary national review on the SDGs for 2024. My name is Achien Ojuan, and I am the Executive Director for the UN Global Compact in South Africa. We do this work to support and feed into the national review on the SDGs led by government through the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. And that is why it's really, really important for us to have the Minister here this morning. But before we dive in, I would like to run us very, very quickly through the program, and I've already put it up, so we won't go into it in detail. But we will kickstart with key insights from ABSA, delivered by Punki, and this will be followed by brief remarks as well from Yvonne, and then the resident coordinator, Nelson Mufu, will take the platform after that. And then that will be followed by myself really delving deep into the private sector's performance on the SDGs as given back to us by companies themselves. And so before, without any further ado, and to minimize time and try to recover some time, it is my great pleasure to invite Punki to the platform.
Thank you, Dr. Achien, and Honorable Minister in the Presidency, Her Excellency, Ms. Marupini Mkopa, esteemed government officials, distinguished leaders from the private sector, and colleagues, as well as partners from civil society. Ladies and gentlemen, from my side, my daughter has been very revolutionary in that when I say all protocols observed, she says that's very lazy mommy, before we call everyone. So I hope I haven't left anybody behind in my introduction. So with that in mind, colleagues and everybody, it is a privilege, I think, for me to stand before you today as we gather to discuss the voluntary national review and reflect on South Africa's journey, in particular towards achieving the sustainability or sustainable development goals. From my side, as the Chief Strategy and Sustainability Officer of ABSA Group, I am deeply, deeply honored to represent a company that not only acknowledges the importance of sustainability, but has also embedded it within its very fabric of our business strategy overall. So for me, I think this gathering takes an added significance as we celebrate Women's Month in South Africa, a time when we honor not only the strength, the resilience, but also the contributions of women across our nation. So at APSA, we do understand that the advancement of women is not just a moral imperative, it is a strategic one. At the same time, I think women remain central to our vision of a sustainable future, and their empowerment is to a greater extent woven into the fabric of our sustainability initiatives. At APSA, we firmly believe that the trajectory of business is inseparable from the health of our planet. The SDGs offer a comprehensive roadmap guiding us in navigating the challenges and opportunities presented by the evolving landscape that we work with on a day-to-day basis. So therefore for us, I think sustainability is not just a peripheral concern, but a core business imperative. My team always remind me, when we talk about sustainability, that it's not just about profits, but it's about profits, people, and the planet. So it is therefore a critical driver of innovation and long-term success. So those who fail in my mind to embrace this reality to a greater extent risk the obsolescence as the world moves towards a more sustainable and an inclusive future. To that extent, I'm also reminded, I think, of the great Nelson Mandela, and he once said that it always seems impossible until it's done. So today's discussion, and also I think for today, as we discuss the progress of South Africa's second VNR, I want to highlight the critical role that the private sector plays in advancing the 2030 agenda. Through our collaboration with the Global Compact Network South Africa, we have demonstrated that collective action is not only possible, but it is an essential element. We cannot afford to work in silos when the challenges we face are so much interconnected. So it is imperative that we work collaboratively. One of the phrases that I've also coined for myself is that sustainability is something that cannot be forced. At the same time, sustainability needs to be nurtured, and it needs to be nurtured through acting in a collaborative way across many boundaries. Because to a greater extent, it is, I think breaking down the barriers as we used to know it. So I think our journey at APSA is therefore a testament, to this commitment. Since 2021, we have achieved in excess of 90 billion in sustainable finance, putting us on track to exceed our 100 billion target, which we had set to achieve by 2025. But my sense is that by the end of this year, we would have achieved that target, and we went through a process of recommitting to an even brighter target as we move forward. So for us, I think this is therefore not just a financial milestone, it's a reflection of our dedication to creating positive and lasting impacts by delivering innovative solutions, particularly from a financial perspective, that align with the environment as well as our social responsibility as an organization that sits in the center of the banking sector. So one of our key strategic pillars, as it was mentioned also on the video, is to be an active force for good. This principle guides us as we work to ensure financial inclusion, particularly for the underserved groups such as women and youth. And for us, this is near and close to our hearts, particularly because we appreciate that for us to really be a true leading institution in Africa, we cannot leave behind the people that we are endowed with, which is mostly women as well as youth in this space. So women and youth form a core part of our strategy as we deliver against the strategy. So therefore, I think this Women's Month, I'm also particularly proud to highlight that over 60% of our workforce in the organization comprises of women. Our commitment to supporting also small and medium-sized enterprises is strong in this process, with initiatives broadly designed to foster entrepreneurial growth and provide the support necessary for these businesses to thrive in an increasingly competitive environment. But whilst the environment is competitive, we do believe that the greening of the economy does offer opportunities to grow the economy even further, and also to be a lot more embracing, particularly of women and youth in the process. So therefore, I think that our women in business offerings have also expanded to over 6 of our markets in the continent, further underscoring our dedication to inclusivity as well as diversity. So these efforts are not just aspirations, they are tangible actions that contribute to economic empowerment as well as social progress, which the continent so much desires. But our journey doesn't stop there. I think we are deeply committed to the global push for a low carbon economy, and our net zero statement, which was also highlighted in the video, does outline a clear pathway to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. So in that regard, I think we include some of our short-term reduction targets for high carbon sectors like coal mining and oil and gas production. This is done with full cognizance of Africa and the unique developmental needs that Africa has in the process, ensuring that no one is left behind in the just transition process. And for us, it's been quite important that we understand exactly what just transition was all about, and it was an exciting, I think, prospect to figure out that when we're talking about the transition, we're not just talking about a singular transition, but it's multiple transitions which recognize also where we are at, as a continent of Africa. And this is one thing that I think people neglect or do not maybe fully appreciate, that when the transition to green economy is being spoken to, people tend to think that we all have to transition at the same pace, but that is not necessarily true. I think there is a carbon budget that is set aside for developing countries to transition at a slightly slower pace relative to the developed countries. So I think it's important that as we go out of today, we take that away as one of the critical elements that the transition is also trying to address. So therefore, I think in South Africa, as an organization, we have taken a leadership role in renewable energy financing. So through our participation through the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Program, we have supported projects in excess of 12 billion, driving the transition towards a cleaner energy sources. Additionally, I think we are proud to have launched Africa's first certified green loan in partnership with the IFC, with a significant portion allocated to affordable housing. And I think for those that don't know what IFC is, part of the World Bank structures from their side. So really, our commitment to sustainability extends beyond our immediate business operations. So when we look at 2023, we have invested in excess of 300 million in community development initiatives, reaching more than 105,000 people in the process. And for us, that's the impact that we want to create. And if we can multiply that, more and more, that would be a great achievement for our organization. And to that extent, I think these initiatives also include financial education programs designed largely to foster long-term financial health, as well as the ABSA Fellowship Program, which nurtures the next generation of African leaders. However, we also recognize that none of this would be possible, without also having the highest level of governance, ethics, and accountability. So, as an organization, we understand that trust is a cornerstone of any successful enterprise. Therefore, we are dedicated to ensuring that our operations not only align to societal needs, but also reflect a genuine commitment to sustainability. So for us, sustainability is not just about numbers, but it's about societal commitment to having a sustainable society. So therefore, as we move forward, it is imperative that we recognize the complexity of integrating the SDGs into our business strategies. It does require strong leadership. It requires a clear vision and also a commitment to continuous learning as well as adaptation. But most importantly, it requires collaboration, like I've already mentioned, across sectors as well as industries. So these challenges that we face are too complex for any one sector to solve alone. But we do believe that by working together, business, government, and civil society, we can pool our resources, share knowledge, and create innovative solutions that drive collective progress. So as I close, I just want to reiterate that the private sector must see itself, as a catalyst in the global effort to achieving the SDGs. And as ABSA, our story is truly woven into the broader narrative of the national progress, reflecting our dedication to driving sustainable development and contributing meaningfully to the country's future. So with that said, together we do believe that we can make a lasting impact that will resonate generations to come. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. No prize for guessing who I am, because I'm wearing the same outfit. I would like to acknowledge Minister Ramokgopa, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and partners. It is indeed a great honor to be standing in front of you today as we mark a significant milestone in South Africa's journey towards sustainable development. The report being handed over to the Ministry of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation today is testament to the dedication and collaboration of South Africa's private sector in advancing the sustainable development goals. The event marks our second round of participating in the national review, and Anglo American was among the first companies to support and participate in the review in 2019. We therefore reaffirm our commitment to through our sustainable development, our sustainable mine plan, and the vision of the UN's 2030 agenda. Our support for this process reflects our belief in the private sector's critical role in shaping a sustainable and inclusive future for our nation. The 2020 Voluntary National Review is to us more than a reporting requirement. It is a crucial opportunity for reflection, learning, and action. It allows us to assess our progress, celebrate our success, and identify where we must accelerate our efforts. The report will capture the collective voice of the private sector, showcasing our achievements, challenges, and commitments in contributing meaningfully to the national and global SDG narrative. Over the past year, the Global Compact Network of South Africa has been instrumental in facilitating deep engagement amongst businesses, fostering peer learning, and through roundtable engagements have enabled the sharing of best practices. A huge thank you to Dr. Achieng and team for this. This collaborative process has not only strengthened our alignment with the SDGs, but also highlighted the immense potential of the private sector to drive positive change. Sustainability is at the heart of all Anglo-American operations. Our sustainable mine plan, guided by our purpose of reimagining mining to improve people's lives, is built on 3 pillars, with an ambitious goals to be achieved by 2030. Under our healthy environment pillar, which is the first, we are advancing climate action through the development of hydrogen-fueled technologies and reducing our Scope 2 emissions through regional solar and wind farm projects. Our investments in innovative ventures and collaborations align with SDG 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure, driving industrial growth and supporting sustainable infrastructure development. Our dedication to biodiversity, which is very important as well for a mining company, is exemplified by our diamond business DBS's Moving Giants initiative. Some of you might be aware of this, where we partnered with the Peace Parks Foundation to translocate over 100 elephants from the Venetia Limpopo Nature Reserve to Mozambique. This is one of the biggest translocation projects in the country and underscores our commitment to protecting biodiversity and maintaining the delicate balance of our natural environments. The Thriving Community Pillar, which is the second pillar of our Sustainable Mine Plan, aims to contribute to better community health, education, and livelihoods. Our education project, a 1 billion investment by 2027, it's a 10-year program, is intended to improve educational outcomes in our operating communities. Now, we all know how important education is and how challenged education in our country is. And we believe that if we make the right interventions in education, we will be able to change the destinies of some of our privileged learners who will in future have a better future, and are also able to bring other people along and change the lives of their families as well. This is in collaboration with the Department of Basic Education and ensures holistic support for schools from early childhood learning through to matric. We are also involved in other community development initiatives through our Zimele, which is around SMME development, working with APSA as a partner as well to ensure we fund projects and fund SMMEs that are regarded as unfundable without collateral, and making it possible for them to also access opportunities, procurement opportunities in the mines, thus creating livelihood and also helping them to realize their dreams of becoming entrepreneurs and supplying the mining industries with either products or services. The Trusted Corporate Leader pillar challenges us to contribute to national advocacy, and this is our third pillar, In collaboration with government, business associations, and other stakeholders, we are collaborating to help improve the efficiency of our national freight logistics infrastructure, turnaround of Eskom to eliminate load shedding, and addressing crime and corruption. We understand the need to advance the development of resilient infrastructure that promotes inclusive and sustainable industrialization, attracts investment, and fosters innovation. South Africa's electricity, rail, and port infrastructure are the economy's lifeblood and represent a significant opportunity for the country's development. And we believe that if we address the challenges that are currently faced by these institutions, we can get the country back at work. Our trusted corporate leader pillar sets a stretch goal of increasing national and local accountability, whereby stakeholder accountability forums had to be established by 2020. In line with this goal, Anglo American launched the SDG Accountability Dialogue Series in November 2018. The initiative serves as an accountability-based conversation with key stakeholders, focusing on how we measure our footprint against the SDGs. By fostering these dialogues, we are ensuring that our actions are transparent, our impact is measurable, and our commitment to sustainable is unwavering. We will, towards the end of the year, be hosting the 7th SDG Accountability Dialogue, focused on the thriving community pillar, and hope to connect with our partners to further embrace a theme that is increasingly hard to ignore in present-day South Africa. The top 4 SDGs prioritized by the industry, as highlighted in the report, are SDG 17, which is Partnerships for the Goals, SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, 13, Climate Action, 9, Industry Innovation and Infrastructure. The industry's contribution can be seen through initiatives to transition to carbon neutrality, focusing on reducing emissions and adopting clean energy. Collaboration with host communities foster local engagement and support through our social and labor plans, empowering women to achieve gender equality in mining by promoting diversity and inclusion, not forgetting the fact that we are faced with a GBV scourge, and we have a hub in Anglo American that's looking into making sure that every case is handled sensitively and lands where action is taken against the perpetrator. I know I'm not supposed to use the word perpetrator. You're not going to be happy with me for that, but yeah. But action is taken to ensure that there's no repeat, but also to give the victims that closure and the trust that the company is really doing something and has their interest at heart. Opportunities that the industry can tap into include SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production, by approaching more recycling and regeneration practices. At Anglo American, we're beginning to view mineral waste, both our tailings and waste rock, as resources that could further benefit our host communities and create jobs as we start to diversify our products within a more circular business model. Mining has traditionally been a linear business model, but circularity presents opportunities to create decent jobs and businesses both inside and outside the mine fence. However, an area that I've messed up my I must stop touching when I'm not supposed to touch. However, an area where the industry must accelerate efforts is on SDG 5, which is the gender equality, and ensure that the inclusion there's an inclusion of women in senior management role. While progress has been made, there is room for improvement across the industry. As we look to the future, it is clear that collaboration will be key to achieving our shared goals. Companies operating in a Pan-African context have emphasized the importance of regional collaboration. By engaging with other trading communities within and beyond Africa, we can significantly enhance our prospects for achieving prosperity for businesses and sustainability outcomes for the countries we operate in. When businesses prosper, so do countries. SDG 17, which is Partnerships for the Goals, is central to this vision, and we at Anglo American are committed to being a trusted partner in this collaborative regional development. As we navigate this VUCA world that includes fluctuating commodity prices, which impacts mining companies negatively, inflation, business reconfigurations, business restructures, takeovers, and geopolitical conflicts, we must continue to collaborate across traditional lines, harnessing opportunities and supporting job creation beyond the mine value chain. With South Africa's unemployment sitting at around 34%, it is essential that we work together to create employment opportunities and grow local economies. And it's also very important that these jobs are not dependent on mining, because we all know that mining is finite, and when mines close, because they will one day, there has to be continuous economic activities. Otherwise, we continue seeing the devastation that has been caused by ghost towns. In closing, I extend our deepest gratitude to the UN Global Compact South Africa Network, ABSA Group, NBI, BUSA, Business Leadership South Africa, Minerals Council, and Mpanda, and all partners who have contributed to this journey. This report that's going to be tabled today is testament to what we can achieve when we work together, and serves as a foundation for the work that lies ahead. As one African proverb goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Program Director. It is a real pleasure actually to be here. And thank you also for hosting this gathering. Of course, also I express my gratitude to the board, the members and the staff of the local network of the Global Compact here in South Africa. The work that we're advancing through your interventions and the collaboration is very, very, very appreciated. And of course, to my big sister, the former board chair as well, Lucia Masolobadia, thank you so much for the work that you keep on supporting. Honorable Minister, my sister, thank you as well for your unwavering support and also your leadership, not only with regards to the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, but also the oversight functions you now carry with regards to public enterprises as well. And it is important in this gathering that we acknowledge that. To all those who are in the audience, those who are committed members of Global Compact, those who are not yet members of Global Compact, who will become soon members of Global Compact, I thank you for joining us and also for your collective contribution towards the well-being of people and planet. It is indeed an honor as we draw to a close of Women's Month to be here amongst you all, and I can see predominantly in the audience as well is largely female leaders. I don't know whether that means sustainability is something that is driven by women, or is it something that we really need to think about how women really can contribute positively to the changes that society needs, and that's a testimony to the audience. Not to say the men in the room don't have their role to play as well, but just to acknowledge that. The launch of this private sector contribution to South Africa's voluntary national review is certainly very welcome and very much needed. I say this as well because the process of the VNRs really is one that emphasizes the importance of collaborations, inclusivity, but also one that leads to an outcome that highlights the gaps, but also underlines the opportunities of acceleration and what everyone needs to do together to be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. With regards to South Africa's leadership, the Sustainable Development Goals is fully aligned with the National Development Plan, with the midterm strategic framework, and the soon-to-emerge midterm development plan. And I'm sure you will hear a lot more of that when the minister speaks. But I think with regards to the challenges the country is facing, one thing that is important and which has been highlighted over time is that a whole of government, whole of society, and whole of economy approach is needed. And that is why we very much as the UN family value this collaboration with the private sector. We must embrace acceleration and transition pathways, and this is reflected in the finalized voluntary national review that South Africa has also put forward, which soon our whole cabinet will look at and will become publicly available. It is needless to say as well that the President recently, in the opening of Parliament address, emphasized that within the context of the government of national unity, the focus is going to be placed on inclusive growth and job creation, poverty reduction and the cost of living, and of course, the build-up of a capable, ethical, and developmental state. And the Minister's work is very central in this regard. And this all are necessary if we want to make a difference in the lives of South Africans that also impact our continent, Africa, and the world. And in line with SDG transition and acceleration efforts, South Africa's latest VNR clearly delineates the following areas of key actionable recommendations. Investing in young people for their participation in the digital and green economy, very important. Creating opportunities by increasing sustainable energy sources that shift to renewables and to reduce carbon emissions and create economic opportunities. And also investing in green and resilient infrastructure and the development of effective and responsive institutions. However, with all of these commitments and the recommendations that we know we need to take forward, a lot more still needs to be done. Progress of the SDGs off track, and the course correction is needed. And last year at the SDG Summit, the Secretary General Member States called for a rescue plan for people and planet. South Africa, one would say, also emerged from elections, and now with the government of national unity, with the imperative of a rescue plan, a course correction plan for the country, and business being at the center of these interventions. And a significant portion of what we need to do counts on us advancing instruments and initiatives that will ensure that the SDGs are centrally anchored within national planning and oversight mechanisms, that we strengthen the capacity of local and subnational governments to better deliver outcomes to people, and we boost transparency and governance, as well as access to information. As you will soon hear this morning from Dr. Achien, the private sector's VNR report provides a stark reminder and confirms that, like the global trends, a lot more needs to be done to ensure a paradigm shift from all stakeholders, especially the private sector, is a journey we embark on. And this whole of economy approach will leverage the expertise, resources, and interventions from all, beyond government and large corporations, but also small businesses, NGOs, civil society, academia, and media. And as we fast approach the 2030 deadline, I encourage and challenge all private sector stakeholders, micro, medium, and major, including those who are part of Business Unity South Africa, and those who are part of the Global Compact, and those who will soon sign on to the principles, to take bold, decisive actions and ensure continued alignment of business strategies, processes, supply chains, and all of their decisions and actions with the SDGs. The UN in South Africa and beyond invites you to not only collaborate with us, or with the government, or with communities, but also with each other in this mutually beneficial journey of practice, learning, teaching, leading, and sharing of experiences. And at this point, really appreciate the experiences we've already heard this morning from APSA and Anglo-American. In our collective pursuit of leaving no one behind, we must invest in innovation. You've heard that already. Collaboration is very important, and the mobilization of investments and financing around the SDGs. This time around, we're talking also about 6 integrated and catalytic interventions, which we call the SDGs transitions. There's 6 of them that will help us accelerate progress on all the other SDGs, that these transitions or investment pathways that have been identified by the UN Secretary General and the Sustainable Development Group range from food systems, energy access, affordability and transition of energy, digital connectivity, education, jobs and social protection, and of course action on climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Together and working on all of these interventions, we can collectively amplify our impact and create powerful force for change. Honorable Minister, before I conclude, permit me to also recognize the important contribution that well-managed and responsible South African state-owned enterprises can make towards inclusive economic development, and in particular to create jobs, expand productive capacities, and foster economic growth. We very much therefore count and are reassured that your stewardship will ensure that South Africa's public enterprises, once born, experience enhanced efficiency, performance, accountability, and service delivery, because they need to play their part in this push and business for people on the planet. Allow me, therefore, to close with the words of the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, when in July she was addressing the high-level political forum in New York, where she said, although the greatest challenges before us are daunting, together we can overcome them, achieve the peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future that all people not only need, but deserve. I therefore hope that this event and the commitments we will hear and the recommendations contained in the VNR's report from private sector will help us collectively redouble our efforts and achieve the outcomes that are important for people on the planet. But let me add one more thing. Since it's Women's Month, we heard that SDGs 5 is the one that needs the most progress and attention, particularly in the context of South Africa. And I think it is important that businesses think about their role not only in the workplace, in the boardrooms, in the marketplace, but also in the public spaces, and the responsibility they have to be part of this coalition for change. And Ambassador Badela and I were yesterday at the Private Sector Coalition that was being launched to ensure that private sector is accompanying the presidential initiative and the GBV strategy that is important. And you can see that by working together and pooling together resources, but also by acting responsibly internally and externally, private sector can make a difference. And I thank you once more, and happy Women's Month again.
Thank you. for listening. And I'm going to do this presentation in two parts. The first brief part is about the process and the methodology on how we have engaged the private sector to bring out this information. The more detailed part will be on the results. How is the private sector performing? What are they prioritizing? Why are some priorities deprioritized? When we train on human rights and business, we always have this dilemma question. How do you prioritize when everything seems important? When everything is indeed important? So we engage the private sector over, I think, since May last year, developing and consulting on the methodology. We started the active work in August of implementing the process that we had designed. At this point, it's important to say that this is a collaborative effort. We do this work in support of government primarily because of the obligation to report back to the UN member states. But we also do this work because we want to really try to understand how we're doing. We say that what gets measured gets done. So it's also an example of how we collaborate within business, but also with government as the owner of this VNR report responsibility. And so we conduct the private sector review separately. That report is then submitted to the presidency through the DPME. The minister is here with us. And then we play back and bring back when it's still in draft form to just verify what we have on the process. What the government does with this report, and I don't want to preempt, but on our behalf as South Africa, they take the report to New York to present to other UN member states, the peers. What happened this year that didn't happen in 2019, we are doing this for the second time in collaboration with the DPME, is that there were a lot more companies that have participated. That is the one thing. So we have richer data, more data. But for the first time, the government also invited us to co-write the national report. So I want to give the private sector the confidence that the national report entails your insights on practices and perspectives and performance on the SDGs. What government asked us that they have the big data they get from South Africa, but what is the story behind the quantities? So we brought in the qualitative aspect of private sector's performance. We went through a long process, held 16 round tables. 6 of those were in 6 sectors. So we sampled the top 6 sectors, the biggest ones by their contribution to the GDP. We over 132 companies participated. We tried to use technology. We need to move to the use of technology. So we captured the private sector sentiments through Mentimeters. So we have over 3,000 insights that are captured from the Mentimeter. Over 300 individual contributions are in this report. We have 37 case studies. So you see company stories, and we try to be as inclusive as possible. So it's both large companies, medium-sized companies, and smaller ones. And we've done this work in collaboration. You will hear, and you already heard that word coming up through every speaker that has come to the podium. And collaboration is the word, the pinpoint of our advocacy today, because we have realized we are behind on the SDGs as what are those levers that will enable us to cover ground? One aspect is that we must collaborate within the private sector, and I'm glad that ABSA is already collaborating with Anglo-American. We have to intensify collaboration within industry and with other sectors, civil society, communities, and government. And so we employed a diverse methodology. We asked companies to rank, and that is what the video said, rank your SDG priorities or your sustainability priorities. We collected case studies, we got company information, we had those roundtables, and we also collected insights from the CEOs. So there's a leadership survey towards the end of that report. I won't talk about it here because it requires a different workshop, a more detailed workshop. But our process, of course, includes this deep engagement to get the data that we require. And so I'll quickly go just very slightly back to the priorities. And we already have seen how the shifts have happened. This is actually a summary of that video, if you like. And I'll only talk about the top 5. For the second time, of course, the private sector prioritizes SDG 8. Companies believe that is their strongest point. They can create decent work and drive economic growth. That has remained constant, 2019, 2024. At number 2 in 2024, we should be a little worried, but as I said, everything is important, so how do you prioritize? SDG 4 on education, that was number 2 in 2019, has been deprioritized down. At number 2 currently is SDG 13 on climate action, so a lot of companies are responding to the call for a move to a low carbon economy. Right? To our delight, in 2024, and I've never had this, I worked with the private sector for the longest time, companies are saying we can't do it on our own. We are open to collaboration and we need to collaborate. We are delighted, and I'm sure the UN is happy about this as well. So let us confidently take this promise forward to collaborate. In 2019, at number 3 was SDG 12 on responsible consumption and production, I think. And that has lost a few places as well. At number 4 in 2019 was SDG 9 on innovation. Significantly prioritized this time around. And taking that place is SDG 3 on good health. I think COVID was a trigger for us in the private sector to take SDG a lot more seriously and to plan for the long term. So it has gained priority. Again, things are competing. Innovation has gone down. It's a concern at this point. But when we come to the opportunity report, companies are saying our greatest opportunity is in innovation. And so it all is not lost there. We would like to see more innovation because we cannot move to a low carbon economy. We cannot create jobs for the future without innovating. I'll stop at number 5. In 2019, that was good health, SDG 3, so it's only moved one up a notch. But at number 5, this time around is SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities. And this is data mostly pushed by the mining sector. As I said earlier, building infrastructure, interested in ensuring that communities can thrive even beyond the life of mining, but other companies as well. The concern, other than innovation, deeply when we need it the most, is on gender equality. I know we have many priorities, but gender equality is a low-hanging fruit. Because if you look at the economic ones, we know that there are qualitative aspects of gender equality that sometimes are steeped in culture and other complexities. But there are elements of gender equality that the private sector can move a lot faster. Changing the leadership structures to be more inclusive. Management. Ensuring health and safety at work. Closing the gender gap. Can I hear a clap? We can do that in 3 years with the right will within business. So gender equality, actually, even when you look at the global map that is tracking the country's performance on the SDGs, we should be green on gender equality. We are moving up, but we are not there yet. So let us view it as a low-hanging fruit. It's a concern that it's not on those top priorities when it can help us to move forward a lot faster. It is also connected to the MDP when we talk about reducing poverty inequalities and creating employment. That is one way that we reduce inequalities when we bring gender equality up. I'm going to go through this quickly because there's a lot of information in the report. But how do you say that we also then delved deep into the sectors and we did the same sort of prioritization? So if you look at that screen, it's a bit tiny, but I hope you can see it. You can see that agriculture, food production, and retail have prioritized 12, 2, and 15, financial services 17, and we've had this from the financial sector that we are not collaborating enough, we need to collaborate, and they have bravely said that that is their first SDG 17, right? Mining, natural gas and resources, climate action, and that makes sense because of the intense nature of energy use in the minerals sector, of course good health, and SDG 5. One of the sectors that has prioritized gender equality is the mining sector. Electricity, water, SDG 8, employment, climate, SDG 13, 12. Manufacturing as well, the only sector bringing energy. But the fact that the SDG 7 on energy on the earlier slide is a bit down, it's not because it's not a priority, we've gone through load shedding. It is because companies are looking at it through other SDGs. Like when you tackle climate, there's a link there to tackling energy as well. But one sector is put it up, telecommunications, we need to move to the digital era, we are there already. Health. This was a shock for us, but this sector believes because of the tools and the technology that they have, that they could help to solve for SDG 3 on health, and then 4 and 8. And then the last one is on entrepreneurship, partnerships, education. So it gives a good story broadly within the private sector, and then down to sectors as well. Honorable Minister, it's great that you're here. This report, there's been a lot of introspection. And in the report, companies acknowledge where they themselves need to pull up, right? But they've also given us a set of policy recommendations. Where do we need to see a shift? They're saying make it simpler to adopt. There are so many requirements on business from the regulatory side. Reporting and all that, make it simpler. Yeah? Number 2, and these are the top policy asks. We are just not asking, we are also acknowledging where we are short as a private sector. Let us have government, please let us have a one-stop shop online portal. So I told this story yesterday at Gibbs. I was invited to deliver a guest lecture at Gibbs. And it was great to talk to young people, and we were talking about business opportunities. And I said that in a neighboring country, this is what I've seen, they have something called a citizen center. So if you want an ID, you want a passport, you want to register a company, anything to do with government, registration or access or validation, you want to return your taxes, there's one physical portal called a citizen center, and there's an online portal. So if you're smart and you have a smartphone, you don't have to go to the physical center. If you are an old mama who can probably use the digital tech, you walk in to a neighboring citizen center. Everything is there. You press, and you say, I want an ID, and you go to the relevant counter, bringing government services at one space. This is not what companies are asking for, but they're saying, let's do something similar in terms of what is required of us from the government side. I see that as an opportunity so that if I want a police clearance, I'm not going to the police station. If I want my ID, I don't have to go to Home Affairs. It's all at one big place. You go press and you are served within an hour or so. Make it consistent, right? Harmonize. That is another ask from the private sector. And again, companies are asking, let us not do this thing just for the sake of it. Let us check that they are working. So a process of review. And then let us also be clear on incentives. When we do this great work, can government consider some incentives? So I'm very, very happy, Honorable Minister, that you're hearing this. At the end, when I play the video, it will go into a bit of detail of this policy enablement, as we call it. So in the report, you find in detailed industry policy enablement priorities as well. So even the industries, those 6 that we looked at, have also given, and these are part SDGs as well. So they're saying, if you have to make a success of to a low carbon economy, maybe we need policies modernized in this area or that area. Telecoms is saying the same. If we have to digitalize, there's a set of policies that we either need to bring in or modernize. So it's a very deeply collaborative report, and with really a lot of useful information on the policy side as well. The good news for SMEs, for companies, for anyone, is that there's a set of emerging opportunities that are entailed in this report. Again, we have clustered the opportunities for industry, and I was telling you and young people yesterday that read that part of the report. We can create SMEs, we can create products, we can shift things. Just by I won't go through each and every one. Actually, I won't go through them, but just letting you know that there's a set of industry opportunities in this report, and we have gotten this information from companies. So it's not coming from us, the Secretariat. We are just playing back what the private sector told us. Yeah, so I'll try to go faster and move beyond the opportunities. It's always important to understand what are those top risks that might hinder us from advancing our development priorities, and how do we mitigate them. There are 10 risks. I'll read on the red only. You can look at the risk clusters that need to be mitigated by the actions on the rate. How do we enable innovation for sustainability? Risks in field cost, technology, do we have access to technology? Are we adopting them too late? That is the 10th. 9, labor-related risks, right? It's important to know what the barriers are. Economic pressures. We see a lot of labor unrest over the years. We have the private sector is facing skills issues, increased labor costs, misalignment with educational outcomes, and so on and so forth. Risk 8 that needs to be mitigated: sustainable supply chain and sources of supply. Issue around traceability, global supply chain disruption. We've seen that during the wars that are not even happening in our neighborhood, but affecting our supply chains. Social responsibility and enabling inclusion. What are the risks there? What are the barriers? Right? How do we enable inclusion? A cluster there as well, and this touches with communities as well. The digital divide, digitalization, how do we use that to leverage or to mitigate for those risks? I'm coming towards the end. Before I answer this question, how really is the private sector doing the SDGs? We went through a series of round tables, benchmarked on 10 priority topics that we thought were quite relevant for South Africa. How do we grow sustainable investment? Please read deep on the report. There's this rich information in there. A just transition to carbon neutrality. How do we solve for the energy crisis? Ethical transformation and governance. How do we enhance effective public-private collaboration? Yeah? How do we, obtain synergies with civil society and communities? How do we capture those opportunities that have come post-pandemic, the rebuilding, and then, of course, then the opportunities as well? How do we build global resilient supply chains? And then empowering women and to achieve merit. We thought that in South Africa, that is a priority for us. So we put a spotlight on it and engage companies on it. Later on, you'll hear companies in the report as saying that the gender pay gap is a problem. But I'm going to challenge our companies to say we can change that in 3 years, just with the correct strategy, acceptance, acknowledging, and working towards gender equality. And then how do we leverage sustainability frameworks? There's always an obligation of reporting on companies, disclosure. Before I end, for us in the UN Global Compact, the UN Global Compact is the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. We don't come into the country, but companies who have made a public commitment on sustainability create a network. So our network here is a creation of South African companies, but we are part of the UN Global Compact brand. Globally, we are saying because we've only achieved 17%, we are totally off track on achieving the SDGs by 2030. We are at 17%. How do we move forward faster? And that is the big question. How do we move forward faster? So these are global imperatives that we have picked out, but they're also applicable to some of our issues, priorities in South Africa. We have to improve finance and investment for the SDGs. The living wage, another low-hanging fruit. I say in South Africa, we're still talking about minimum wage, but there are a couple of companies that are already moving to implementing the living wage instead. How do we elevate that discussion and begin to remunerate, especially the lowest paid, to obtain living gender equality a global priority, a local priority as well. Climate action, a global priority and a local priority as well. Water resilience, we don't talk enough about water in South Africa, and we are a water-stressed country. So let us move forward. First time the RC talked about the 6 transitions, include energy as well. Let us combine these frameworks, up the advocacy, up the action, and drive impact and see if we can move the needle a little bit before 2030. Right? We will now move, and I said earlier that for us, this report serves to contribute to the national report. But we also use the making of this report for deeper engagement in the private sector. So the work starts now for us after the launch. We want to be able to engage those sectors. We want to be able to continue to be engaging companies to say, if these are the findings that you have given us, how do we scale impact? And so we will communicate it through a variety of ways. I'm still coming back to how we are doing as the private sector, but at this point I want to, Honorable Minister, our Chair of the Board, is Ms. Mpumi Madisa, who could not be with us today, but really sends her regrets and appreciation for you being here this morning. I'm going to say that on aggregate, and this might come as a disappointment, but I think we already know, there are green lights in specific companies on specific issues. So you might find a company pushing the needle and really understanding how they're going to move to a low carbon operations, right? You might find another company that is really figured and moving a lot more rapidly on gender equality or on innovation, as we saw earlier. But on aggregate, like the rest of the world, we are off track as South Africa. And so we are able to bring you some stories, but we need to go after success. Why are we behind as South Africa? And what do we need to do? Again, the biggest word is collaboration. The report recommends and says that companies are doing individual things. Sometimes those individual things are really great and have the potential for scale. Sustainability is a non-competitive landscape. And so I'm going to implore on all of us, because of where we are, that let us start working together. The report also says that, and this is, I feel terrible standing here from a business organization. It says even the business organizations are not collaborating enough. So there's nobody coordinating actively the private sector to take the SDGs forward. And that might be part of the reason that we are a bit slow on success. But there are a variety of factors as well. It's not one thing. COVID took us back quite a bit. But let us look at the low-hanging fruits that we can leverage to push forward. At this moment in time, thank you, ABSA, once again, and Anglo America. We did this work through strategic partners. And it's good that we are already talking to other business organizations. I want to thank the NBI, BUSA, BLSA, and the Minerals Council. They all came with us on this journey. Beyond this, I think that we're going to have to convene and say, how do we lead better on sustainability? Sustainability is our business, all of us, all the business organizations, despite what our specific mandates may be. I'd also like to thank Mpanda. Mpanda is an SME that participates in the UN Global Compact. We'd really like to have more SMEs join the UN Global Compact. In 2019, MPANDA helped us to do this report. In 2024, they've stepped forward again and were our partners in the development of this report. So Christy is here, the CEO of MPANDA is here, and Christy will moderate the next panel after the break. But we're going to do it slightly differently because I'm going to use this opportunity to hand over the report, the private sector report, to government. So without further ado, Honorable Minister in the Presidency, Madam Marupene from Akoba. So we need to do this first.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojwang, and good afternoon, good morning still, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having us, and let me thank you so much for the good work that you have done, because it took an effort definitely to produce this. We are definitely going to ensure that we utilize it. I was just telling the RC, of course, that I will make sure that we do give space for Dr. Ojwang to come and actually give a presentation to the entire cabinet, so that they can be able to identify their respective departments and plan of action and the partnerships that are needed. So having said that, let me of course acknowledge the presence, of course, of Dr. Ojwang, who just gave us a beautiful presentation and have made this beautiful event to actually take place, which we really, really appreciate. We appreciate it so much as the Government of National Unity, because as Mr. Nelson Mofa already said, I will not talk so much about the MTDP, which is the Medium-Term Development Plan. We are moving towards making sure that whatever it is that we do is anchored on development. If there is no development, then it is something that we are not going to approve. And we are also strengthening government to be able to actually put its hand on the pulse to say that before anything is approved, before anything is taken to cabinet, it will go through a process of quality check, but also to put people who are actually experts to look at it, so that whatever it is that we do, we don't just come and say we did this to tick the box, but we say that it is doable, therefore it is measurable, and I think we did speak about that. Let me also take this opportunity, of course, to acknowledge our business sector from AFSA and from Anglo. We really appreciate your partnership in this regard. Let me also take this opportunity to acknowledge all the members of the diplomatic corps and also the businesses that are here and everybody else that is here that is playing a very big role in ensuring that we do something as it relates to the Sustainable Development Goals. In the previous term, we did go to the UN, of course, to listen to the UN Secretary General and to actually find out, have we moved, are we moving? If we are not moving, then now what needs to happen? It was really sad to actually realize that we haven't even been able to move 20% as it relates to the successes of the SDGs. And this is global, it's not only us in South Africa. Therefore, it means that South Africa needs to do something to be able to move forward and to actually be a beacon of hope in making sure that we lead Africa so that we can contribute to the global agenda as it relates to the successes of the SDGs. It is for this reason, of course, that we are really excited to have an audience to speak to US private sector so that we can then now say, how do we partner? If you look at our NDP, it is the development part of it has got the anchor part in terms of making sure that we move forward in partnership with civil society as well as with business. And of course, I think you did say that Business is saying that it can't do it alone. Government is also saying we also cannot do it alone. Therefore, partnerships are going to be at the center of the 3 priorities that the President has spoken about during his State of the Nation address that Mr. Moffat actually spoken about. In the main being building a developmental state and a capable state to assist us to be able to do the things that we need to do as it relates to reducing poverty, which is what the NDP is all about, and making sure that as we grow, we have an inclusive growth. You know, when I was a diplomat, I think if you have been a diplomat, you know, your first posting becomes everything else that you base all your efforts on. I was actually posted to represent South Africa in India for 4 years, and I was a consul general. I was mainly dealing with issues of trade, attracting business to actually come to South Africa. And I met a great man that has actually built the Tata Group. The Tatas were actually the ones that first came to Africa to invest, not only in South Africa, but Zambia, Namibia. They were the first ones to come. Most of the time when we talk about the Tatas, we think about those cars. They actually do a lot, electricity, steel, and almost everything. And I had the honor of meeting, and I know the surname will not really make you smile, Samil Gupta, the real Gupta. You know, in India, the surname Gupta is actually revered. It's a family of people that are really doing well, and they've contributed so much into the building of the economy of India, most especially in the former Bombay, the Mumbai, where you actually get the economy it's like the Johannesburg of India. And I used to ask him, I don't understand, why is it that the Tatas would play so much role in building, not only donating, but also building society, building what government is supposed to do. They are spending 85% of their proceeds on assisting government and communities in their hospitals, in their schools, also building roads. I'm not saying that you should do that, but that really made me wonder, why would you do that? And he said to me, if we invest more into the communities that we are supposed to serve, that we will actually be getting profits from, we are actually doing this for ourselves, because as children are able to grow and they then now go to good schools and they are educated, and we also make sure that they start their own businesses, they will be good consumers for us. So it may look like we're doing it for them, but essentially we're also doing it for ourselves. It is for this reason that I really appreciate efforts such as this one, where business sector would sit down and say that in terms of the SDGs, in terms of the NDP, how do we partner, how do we evaluate ourselves voluntarily, so that we can then now play a role in ensuring that the societies that we operate in, if we have to build young people that would then now become engineers that we can be able to utilize, or financial people that we can be able to utilize, why not do it, and do it publicly so that we can measure our success together with the success of the globe. It is my distinct honor to join you, as I've already said, today as we launch this Private Sector VNR Report on the Sustainable Development Goals Report for South Africa. This occasion marks a significant milestone in our collective journey towards sustainable development, underscoring the private sector's crucial role in achieving the SDGs, and I think I've made that point. The 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, presents a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet. At the heart of the agenda lie the 17 SDGs that we are utilizing, of course, to assess ourselves, which address our global challenges, including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, and peace and justice. The private sector is not just a participant in this global endeavor, it is a key driver as well. And I'm so happy that I heard you say that you see yourself as a very important part of making sure that we move forward as private sector. That really touched me. However, beyond economic contributions, the private sector's role in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is not just significant, it is indispensable. It holds the power to influence possible or positive social and environmental change. Ladies and gentlemen, Significant strides have been marked in South Africa's journey towards achieving these SDGs, yet challenges remain. South Africa has made significant strides in poverty reduction, education and health. Our poverty rate has declined, schools enrollment has increased, and access to healthcare services has also improved. These achievements are a testament to our policy effectiveness and our people's dedication. And I've seen that you have also spoken about policies, which I really do believe that we shouldn't only just look at them as it relates to what we wanted to achieve, but also if they are fit for purpose and they are going to be able to assist all of us, including business as well, to do what we need to do. So we have listened to that, and we'll definitely make sure that whatever it is that we do it based on ensuring that we reach that particular goal. Our country is navigating complex socio-economic issues, including unemployment, inequality, and the impact of climate change. We acknowledge these challenges and are committed to addressing them. Within the context, the private sector's contribution becomes even more critical. The VNR report we are launching today is a testament to a collective effort of our private sector in advancing these SDGs. It provides an opportunity to showcase the innovative solutions and responsible practices that are contributing to our national and global goals. The report also offers insights into areas where we must do more and do better, thereby guiding our future actions. The theme of the partnership is central to the 2030 agenda and encapsulates in the SDGs 17 of Partnership for the Goals. The private sector, government, civil society, and other stakeholders must collaborate to create an enabling environment for sustainable development. This report is a testament to the power of partnership as it reflects to the concerted efforts of multiple sectors working together to achieve shared objectives. The partnership between government of South Africa and the UN Global Compact is a testament of our own commitment to these SDGs. This collaboration has provided a platform for engaging the private sector, civil society, and various stakeholders in driving sustainable development. By aligning our national strategies with global best practices, we have created synergies that amplify our impact, but we definitely need to do more. As you have just given us an example of how a shared or a centralized model of government services can actually be useful for South Africa. Our government, under the leadership of His Excellency President Ramaphosa, is committed to implementing these SDGs. That is why I'm here today. As a matter of fact, I had to leave a meeting in Cape Town to come here and receive this report, so that I take it back as well. So let's hope I won't be fired, because I said to my boss, I'm not coming to that meeting. I've got a much more important meeting that I have to go and attend. That's why I was taking pictures to send you. See, this is where I am. I think you will like it. Don't fire me as yet. At the regional level, South Africa's leadership in promoting intra-regional trade and investment contributes to economic growth and integration within the Southern African region. Enhanced cooperation on climate change and peacekeeping issues foster stability and resilience across our continent. At the global stage, our commitment to the SDGs enhances South Africa's international reputation as a responsible global citizen. By aligning our policies with global development priorities, South Africa demonstrates its commitment to addressing shared challenges such as the poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. This enhances the country's diplomatic standing and strengthens its participation and partnership with international organizations and donor countries. Therefore, the private sector's alignment with this framework advances our national priorities and contributes to progress and global progress as a whole. You know, most of the time when you talk about SDGs and you talk about the NDP, people think that's a government thing. So it really gives us, it makes us have a warm heart to know that you are also taking it as something that you are responsible for. The success stories highlighted in this report demonstrate the impact of strategic partnership and the importance of aligning business strategies with the SDGs. As we celebrate the launch of this report, we must also acknowledge that our work is far from complete. It's actually just beginning. The SDGs are ambitious, and achieving them requires sustained commitment and action. the private sector must continue to innovate, invest in sustainable practices, and advocate for policies that support inclusive growth and development by ourselves as government, of course. Moreover, transparency and accountability are very key. The VNR process is not just a report, but a tool for reflection, learning, and improvement. It is an opportunity for private sector to demonstrate its commitment to the SDGs and to be held accountable for its contribution. And you have done well, because you have said this is what we could do and this is what we couldn't do. Therefore, we all know what we are supposed to do together. I urge all businesses, from multinational corporations to small enterprises, to see the SDGs not just as a framework for reporting, but also as a roadmap to a long-term success. Integrating the SDGs into the core business strategies is not only the right thing to do, but it is also a smart thing to do. And you look like you're very smart people. Sustainable businesses are more resilient, innovative, and trusted by consumers and stakeholders alike. Let me express my deepest gratitude to everyone who contributed to this report. As you know, initially South Africa intended to submit this VNR this year in 2024. However, due to the changes in government, this could not be achieved, as the report had to be approved by a full cabinet. We like to make sure that we are accountable and we follow the rules. We don't want to act outside of the rules. In this regard, we have asked the UN to allow South Africa to present its SDG progress next year in 2025. I therefore appeal to the private sector to be hands-on as we update the current version of the report. Your dedication to sustainable development is commendable, and your work in making this a success, tangibly so, we definitely do appreciate. As we prepare for the much appreciated Summit for the Future later next month at the UN headquarters, let us continue to work together, driven by the spirit of partnership, to build a more sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future for South Africans. We are saying that precisely because, as I've already said, we are moving from what we used to call the medium-term strategic framework. That was our 5-year our 5-year plan to say this is what we are going to do as an administration. And we are now aligning ourselves to the NDP and to the SDGs as well as Agenda 2063. We are doing that as a government of national unity that comprises of many political parties that are saying we would like to serve South Africans as a unit. As a result, we came up with a framework or a plan that we call, as I've already said, the medium-term development plan, which is aligned directly with the NDP and the SDG, so that we can better be accountable, but we can also be able to make sure that whatever it is that we're doing, whatever policies that we're putting in place, should be aligned with the global principles and also the global practices. So thank you very much for this opportunity and for this beautiful report. Yes, it means that we have to work hard, but we appreciate it because it is assisting us to be able to do better, because that's what we want to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your encouragement, your commitment, your clarity on how we need to move forward. Thank you for emphasizing collaboration. I think we're going to leave this place today with the confidence that there's appetite for us to all collaborate and scale the impact on our development priorities. And so it's that time that we are going to take a short break. You remember we were trying to recover some time.
And thank you very much indeed for that handover. It is a great honour to be presenting this panel here today with really very seminal speakers on the critical topic that is catalysing innovation. I think you can actually sort of read pretty much the names of the individuals that we've got here. So I'm actually going to introduce people against a quote we thought about what it is you really wanted to hear from people. And we decided that sometimes when you introduce yourselves, it's about expressing the value or the culture that you stand for as you sort of give your views. Mavombo from ASA, of course, what's really interesting, Ron, selected, I tell you, entirely separately, the quote that was, if you want to go fast, go it alone. If you want to go fly, go together. Now, did you hear that anywhere before? Literally, I love it when the same sort of quotation comes up, because it does speak to the spirit of collaboration that we really need. That's Mbongo standing here for ASA. Then Magadi, and Magadi is there in terms of lead operational sustainability and reporting, and her quotation really speaks to innovation itself, which is the topic that we're discussing here today. It's a spirit of innovation is generally the result of a selfish temper and confined views. People will not look forward to posterity, will not look backwards. People will not look forward to posterity who never look back to their ancestors. And I thought that was quite an apt one, because of the level of frustration I think that we sometimes feel, and how important that frustration is in terms of motivating ourselves to improve and to step forward. And we learn, of course, from our lessons, don't we? And I think that's very much what the Voluntary National Review stands for. Where have we been, what have we learned along the way, and what is it that we can do to frame how we step forward. So there we go, Magali from Nedbank here today. Welcome very much to the panel. And then we've got Sam from Investec. Sam was the one that started this trend in matters related to family quotations, because she spoke to one right at the very beginning. And I loved it. Her quotation was, "There is enough sun for everybody." And I think that's beautiful, partly because it speaks to the renewables agenda and our energy crisis and what we can do to overcome that. It's very specific in that regard, but it just also speaks so beautifully to the human components, as well, and the fact that we want to collaborate and we want to leave no one behind. She followed that up with rising tides lift all boats. We just need to lift each other together collectively, and so that was really beautiful. That's Sam from Investec, and then absolutely last but certainly not least, we've got Tina, and Tina gave us a Simon Sinek special. I adore Simon Sinek, so that really resonated with me. She says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay, and I think that's a really vital one. Tina here is Managing Director of Allied Valve Specialists, so in terms of catalysing innovation, if you like, we've got 3 financial services players who are going to have a conversation actually with leader of a medium-sized business that's got very, very cross-cutting sort of impact across South Africa, that is living and becoming that sustainability-orientated organisational culture, and there's a very strong story that comes through there. So we're going to see a bit of a relationship come through. Just to introduce the panel that we've got here today, catalysing innovation speaks to the story that I think you've seen told throughout the course of the day, that is, there was this phenomenal fall in SDG 9, which is innovation, industry and infrastructure, right? And why, over the course of the last 5 years, that might have happened. And I think the story there is that it's hard to afford innovation. You need money, you need to have the resources and the skills and the know-how, and you need to have an enabling environment if you're going to step forward and innovate. And so financial services actually have that value proposition in terms of being able to enable it, and companies need to be able and empowered to be able to step forward and to take and to capitalise upon that opportunity. And when we looked at actually what the priority topics were, what the risks that we needed to mitigate were, what the opportunities that we want to bring forward for job creation are, actually SDG 9 came out the top every single time. It sits there behind SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, as the single most important SDG in this process. As we conclude the reporting process, what we need to ask ourselves is, how are we going to catalyse it? Okay.
So, what we're going to do first is just do a little walkthrough in terms of opening statements. So we're going to start on the far left-hand side here. Lovely, tell us all about it. Give us a little opening statement from ABSA's perspective.
Thank you, Christine, and good afternoon or good morning to everybody. As you saw earlier, one of our strategic pillars is to be a force for good in everything we do. And that really informs our innovation philosophy. We believe and recognize that innovation is crucial to providing solutions when it comes to environmental related challenges, but also to the reduction of sustainability development. And we are therefore committed to that. And we have chosen to do that through strategic partnership, because once again we value collaboration. And today I'm looking forward to engaging with the panel and with everybody here to just go a little bit more in detail as to how we do that strategic partnership and making sure that we are forceful in everything.
Beautiful. We've already got that first allusion there, I think, to SDGs 17 and the vital importance of strategic partnership, and actually the quite deep know-how that financial services tend to have in that space. To come into directly after this. Thank you very much. Very, very good. We want to get into that detail. Magali, your turn. Opening statements.
Yeah, so as Bank, right, our commitment is to using our financial expertise to do good as well. So one of the things that you realize in our regulatory space that is stifling innovation is because we can't fund startups because of the regulatory environment, and new innovations because they're not bankable, they're not repeatable, and with our current business model it becomes difficult to allow for the space and the ecosystem to work. So I think as part of the piece in our innovation is about using what's possible for you while you try to change the system. And I think a big part for us is finding different vehicles outside of our traditional lending models. So things like our affinities, having things like trust, building funds that work as concessionary funds, where you support your small and medium enterprises that are working directly with the economy, but are also supporting social initiatives, right? So I think that for me is sort of how you innovate while the system is working, because you can't get away from the fact that financial services has to be and is regulated. So how do you move outside of that to support business? So it's about finding and innovating within what's possible, within the confines of the environment and your expertise and your abilities.
So I think very courageous there, and actually what's quite interesting is I'm hearing that there's this call to action, SDG 9 for innovation, actually within your own business model to lead by example in that regard and to be looking at what can be done to support reframing of that business model to be fit for purpose. I like the reference there with the pink and the SDGs sort of reducing inequalities on the 11 there that says what about the unbanked?
Yeah.
How do we bring in and include? So very, very nice strong start there as well. Sam, give us an opening statement. Tell us all about it.
Alright, so at Investec we're constantly thinking about this move to a low carbon and inclusive economy. Our impact SDGs at Investec are climate action and reducing inequalities. And of course innovation and catalyzing that innovation is part of that move. The sentiment of no one gets left behind is very strong within us, and that is how we deal with our clients. We think about partnering with them, and we don't want to be fair with the partners. We want to be there even through the hard stuff. Let's try to figure it out together because that's how we move.
Again, an allude to partnership, which I think is vitally important, and I think there's a real investment flavour coming in there. What I think Sam's really starting to do there is to refer to this very cross-sectoral landscape that we work in, that the private sector needs to be in collaboration with the public, needs to have relationship through into civil society and community, and that it's actually quite sophisticated, bringing together that kind of multi-stakeholder environment. It's a lot of work. Tina, so I mean, you've heard 3 financial services entities. You're here to represent the business perspective. Give us an opening statement that sort of catalyses it for you.
Thank you.
always inspired here by my fellow panelists in terms of the financing side. When you look at the private sector and you look at the small to medium-sized companies, I'm not sure if you're aware of the statistics that about 50% of the employment in South Africa is driven by the small to medium-sized companies. And in fact, 40% of GDP comes from this sector. So as we're talking about here around participation, around communities, around not leaving anyone behind, we're looking at job growth. And when we talk about innovation, well, my news is small to medium-sized companies are fast, they're agile, they're innovative, they're passionate, they're actually quite risky. You know, they do take a lot of risks, which I know how banks don't like. But there's an element about them. If you want innovation, and if you put in that sector, and that sector collaborates with other businesses, there is no doubt that we can do it. If I look at ABS, our purpose of our team, our people that come to work, is not for them to come to job. Our why is because we serve 62 million South Africans. Our valves are the heart of the plant. So we supply water, power, food. And I think that goes back to, you don't have to, if I think back to the Springboks, I mean, we can all eat Springboks. If I think of Chesney Colby, he may not be the biggest in the team, but he sure does have an impact. So I think that's how I would categorize the size.
Beautiful. So, I mean, it's a powerful story, isn't it? I think predominantly when you operate in the sustainability space, you operate where there are funded and proper roles, sustainability roles, that tends to be corporate. It is much harder to engage the medium to smaller sized enterprises that are generally just undercapacitated in terms of having the time to come and engage on the platforms that present such as this one. And yet 50% of that GDP, all of that agility, actually a hugely important business stakeholder for financial services in terms of representation. And I think it speaks very nicely the Allied Valve story to this feeling of ecosystem. One of the things that's very interesting about this business model is how it cuts right the way through a multitude of different sectors, which starts to bring things together. It lends a coordination, an element of coordination. So that sets us up very well. I'm going to begin with my first question. I'm going to direct that one at you, Magali. So get ready for it, get steady for it. The question that I thought about in terms of this is there's an entire agenda and value proposition relating to sustainable or green financing. But how is it that companies need to be acting in order to leverage it? What is that partnership that needs to take place if we're going to actually accelerate the adoption of the green technologies and more that we need to advance sustainable practices?
So it's a tiered approach, right? So there's sustainable finance, which comes in for your more massive capital projects, and that's where your bigger entities come in and say that we want to get into renewables, or we're looking to transition, or we're looking at investment, or whether it's public and private partnerships with the people like the TCTA and all those kind of things. That's where you come in and you ask for the money and then you build the financial people that we're service and agenda. The second one is around existing clients who say, I think a lot of people confuse evolution as like, innovation as it has to be evolutionary. And there's a need for slow and systematic change that needs to happen. So it's more, and the easiest way to do is to reimagine what you currently do, and that's why I'm incorporating that going backwards. What have you been doing? How do I get better at it to be able to do and meet the requirements of this current system? And I think that's where a lot of the lack in innovation is for me, because people are looking to like AI, and which is great, but in terms of being able to get from a startup position, getting and being able to get that level of funding for an AI startup, or when you come in and say, I want to find a better way of creating new valves, or like for example, one of our conditioning funding projects for Kusini Water, where instead of going massively larger, they're using macadamia to have portable water treatment. That's an easy fundable thing. It's something that people need, in fact, immediately. So when you go and to the funder, it makes sense. So when you come in and we know that this aligns with our goals, right, around SDGs that we've adopted and prioritized as part of our sustainability framework, so we're able to come and say, okay, where can we give you the funding? Is it in our commercial space, is it our retail space, or is it through our concessionary funding, innovation capital? But you need to be intentional as the person and fix real world needs and understand the context, right? And I think a lot of the times people don't understand the context. Yes, it's great what we're seeing in America, and obviously one day we'll get there, but what are our real world issues that we're all dealing with contextually? And I think that's where the problem is. And I think also part of the job from the finance space is, and also when you participate in these things, I think there's a responsibility to understand that we have other people's money. It's not our money. So when we give you money, we have a responsibility to follow through on it. And I think that's a lot of the problems with these grants and funds, because people don't want to follow through. They come in, they're passionate, and they say all of these things, but if the failure rate is at the level that it's at, because people aren't willing to follow through on the process when you get your seed funding and then come back with follow-up capital while you make sure you get in compliance to become commercial, so that you can move to a different space, to different place, so that you are able to give other people a chance. Because what we have also as a problem is that we have the same people giving the same grants. So because they're not growing and scaling enough, because yes, the requirements, the policy conditions don't allow for it, but also I feel like people are too comfortable in the grant space because they don't get to be held accountable to the standards of being a bigger commercial entity. So I think that's where you need to intentionality, you need to understand the context, and you need to face real world problems that exist in your current space.
So very strong messages there. You know, what I'm getting from you there is actually it doesn't need to be too crazy. It needs to be a straight down the line practical component to the capital that's being offered is coupled, and it's vital that it's coupled actually with just straight down the line sensible business advisory thinking that helps in a personalised way to really sort of step that forward. So beautiful response there. Let's imagine that we had that capital available to the NCT. I think, Bomba, what I'm going to do is come around to you and ask you a question. And what I'm interested in here really is how is it that in this context, you know, going deeper, that financial services can actually provide that meaningful support to the SMEs that they need in order to understand and to start up and to lead the kind of innovation that we need into the areas where we, you know, specifically need to have that development.
Thank you, Christy, for the question. So there are many effective ways financial institutions can support innovation and SMEs and startups. And from an ABSA perspective, the way we have decided to do that, as I said, is about the strategic partnership. We have therefore together a structure to support innovation, a structure that allows collaboration, a structure that supports ideation, that can bring ideas together, that can bring SME startups to pitch their ideas. And the way we go about it is first to identify ESG trends that we'd like to explore a little bit more. And then we have, on an annual basis, we have an ESG immersion where we invite different SME and startups. And those immersions that we host, they have two roles. The first one is to create ESG awareness, because there is also a need for awareness, for innovation to go towards ESG. And then the other objective is also to provide an opportunity for those SMEs and startups to pitch their ideas. And throughout that process, we do select ideas that, as my fellow panelist has mentioned here, that talks to real societal problems that need a solution, that has the largest impact on community. Community impact is in the DNA of ABSA, and also that are linked to those ESG trends that we have analyzed. And then we journey with them It's not only about providing maybe venture capital, it's also about supporting them. It's about mentorship. It's about putting them through networking opportunities. So we journey with them. That is the approach that we have taken. And we have had quite successful stories where the ideas are really solving problems, are talking to communities, are creating jobs. And it's part of the spirit of collaboration. It's part of the spirit of leaving no one behind. So that is the approach that we have taken.
It's beautiful. I get a very strong feeling of the whole life cycle there. I think what's quite nice is that we're talking about the real outreach to communities to promote the awareness of the hotspots where there is actual real demand for ESG innovation and activity, and to build that awareness. And then I also enjoy the way that you speak to it's not just about giving the capital, it's about demonstrating that ability to play into governance systematically with the mentorship and the and to curate and help to steward that value creation. So stunning answer. I'm going to come to you next, Tina. Imagine a situation where we've got these sustainable financing value propositions, we've got the outreach, we've got the support that's coming into it, and I imagine that really we've got a company that's essentially now got the finance that it needs. Tell us what it really takes when you're working with your workforce then to bring that sustainability objective and value proposition to life.
Well, I think it goes back to the why, the purpose. As a company, ABS, we care about people. Our people, your people. We care about the 62 million South Africans in this beautiful country, but we also care about sustainability. The problem is it's complex, and there are so many things that you can do, and how do you prioritize? So we figured out that what we would do is we would simplify it, and we would focus on changing the mindset, step by step. So if you can change the mindset of your own team, step by step, waste reduction, better consumer consumption, ecosystem thinking, what happens is your own workforce becomes your change agents. And I think that's a lovely word around what we're all trying to accomplish, because it's great in this forum, how do you take that change beyond? I think one or two examples would be useful. I'll take probably the simplest example. We have an incredible guy by the name of Joe, who works in our warehouse in Cape Town. And he looked at this valve and needed to go out, but it was quite a small valve. And then he looked at the packaging and was like, no. And because we've been through sustainability awareness, we have been through the baseline, very simple to more complex. And he looked at it and he said, right, I don't have a box this size, the box is too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own box. I'm going to take a big box, and I'm going to cut it up and I'm going to make it smaller, because A, that's going to reduce cost, it's going to reduce waste. And I think that just shows the innovative element that you can bring it right down to every level. And I really encourage us to help to create change agents. But I give a disclaimer, because I am SME, so I'm allowed to say things that corporate can't say. And the disclaimer is you have to believe it. You have to be the leader who believes it. Otherwise, it's a checklist. It's got to come from the top, and it has to be implemented as a cohesive element.
So really appreciating that, that discussion then that takes us, I think, back to the values and the human passion that we bring that to life very beautifully, that with hearts and minds and making it simpler enough, then with all of the Joes that are out there within our workforces, many hands can make light work, isn't it? And I think we do need to get everybody at the table and leave no one behind in terms of trying to step up the ambition that we have if we're going to catalyse innovation. And I think, Simon, it's a natural way of moving over to you for a question, because we sit in a world that is extremely complicated, and quite often we need to bring together stakeholders from different sectors, from different organisations in order to be able to solve complex problems, to boil down into simplicity. And I think this is one of the things that InvestTech is good at, isn't it? Cross-sectoral or working at multiple different levels. What is it that needs to be done to catalyse and bring forward innovation in the landscape when it comes to that kind of collaboration?
So it's going to boil down to the thing that everyone's been saying here all day, this collaboration, right? We try to be in as many rooms, in as many conversations, as part of as many pilots, a part of as many platforms like this as possible. Because we need to learn from each other. It's not a competitive space. We have to collaborate. Like to move forward, we really need to work together. Now I'm writing this down because I don't want to forget anyone, and I will. Probably will not observe it. So when we think about partnership for the goals and collaboration, we need to understand that this collaboration has to happen across industry sectors, academia, governments, communities, NGOs, regulators, civil society. And I think that's it. But that's how you want to foster the innovation, right? Because to address the complex societal challenges and to ensure sustainable development and safeguard the planet, we need to work together, all of us. For me, I'll use an example. For me, a great example is COVID-19 vaccination. You have all these big pharma companies who work together, and that's the only reason why the vaccination came out so quickly. So we then need to think about what's the urgency that we need to build around the issues of social development and job creation that's going to galvanize that same sort of thing.
It's phenomenally important, and I think that, that we can't deny that there are serious infrastructural issues that we need to collaborate on. One of the more interesting parts of the VNR report that we're launching today is the opportunities section, and within that section we've got 6 industry sectors, we've got 9 top opportunities. They've been identified by companies, South African companies that are within that sector themselves. So you go, well, why is it, or what is going to happen about the fact that we've identified these opportunities? And quite often you can see that they won't necessarily be activated immediately, because there can actually be a vacuum in incumbent leadership when you're trying to innovate, right? It's all very well and good if a leader of business comes forth and says, behold, Nedbank, InvestTech, or ABSA, I require capital from you for this business opportunity. I've got a business case. This is where I need support. The issue can often be that we don't have leadership or incumbent people where there is innovative opportunity. It's a blank space. And so very, very important if we're going to be catalysing innovation, that we're actually looking at what it is that we need to do to cover off accountability and leadership. And I think that that's through the beginning of the story here, where we're saying, okay, so what are the products and services that can enable sustainable financing investment? We said, what is the relationship that we need to be offering from a non-financial perspective to curate that value? What is it that is the accountability actually of the business world in terms of curating that value, and then how do we coordinate it, which is the beginning of a sort of a story, if you like. At this point, is there anybody out there that has a particular burning question or a point that they would like to add? Because I think we probably have time for 1, maybe 2 questions. And Christine is doing that's where I needed to look. She might be saying, close it out, Christine. We're already starting past 12, Christine. I've got one just here.
2 questions, I'll make it really quick. The first one, you mentioned business plans, you mentioned, I think it's really great from Kali that you want people to be held accountable, but I'm wondering about really small scale businesses, the townships. I'm often just amazed at the entrepreneurial skill we have. What are other banks doing to look at that and support that? That's the first question. The second question is, we typically look at return on investment, financial return. Are you guys looking at social return?
Thank you for putting me under pressure. But yeah, in terms of township economy, we do have a township economy strategy. And for us it comes in different affinities. So we would have a legacy fund, and we have different funds, like I said, that are concessionary, where we offer money at lower interest rates or at low interest rates, and then we get like a different benefit, whether it is the carbon credits that you saved, whether it is whatever is the impact is then part of net-based impact instead of getting the traditional sort of interest in terms of lending, right? And then in terms, what is the second question?
Social.
So social return. So the social return, yes, we do that with a lot of the work that we do. So now I'll give you an example of one of the better stories that I'm reporting. So yeah. So one of the companies we sponsor is called Milestone. And what it does is it's trying to formalize backyard dwellings in the township, right? That would normally not get funding in order for you to grow. We know all of us that grow in the township know that those aunties will have back roots. So the job that literally we are funding that company to be able to help them commercialize and be able to grow. And we've had people that have come out of that program who have now built 3-4 bedroom apartments because they moved away from the traditional sort of backyard hand to cash. And we've thought about it, and we've also in that partnered up with the municipalities as well to help them rezone the areas, make sure they're electrified properly, make sure they've got enough water, and then also get the commercials right. And then that then helps them to then start having this asset base that allows them to grow. So there's a lot of, and then because we know the South African is usually run by women, the Women's Month, and a lot of those beneficiaries are women, talking against inequality. So those are the stories we tell, right, in terms of our value reporting, in our ESG reports and climate reports. So it is a very important KPI in which is what we're down to.
Okay. I've got one more person at the back. If anyone here, I've got another one here. Are we allowed to have just a couple more? Okay, let's go for it.
Good afternoon. My name is Tammy from Steamwater.
Yes.
Mine's a comment, Christy. I think what is missing in that question regarding the panel is the role of the state, and in terms of really catalyzing innovation through sustainable finance. For example, in some of our operating environments, we've seen support from the state, delivered support from the state. For example, recently was in the papers, we received about 500 million euros for the European Investment Bank for our lithium mine in Finland. And a couple of years ago, we received through the Inflation Reduction Act in the US, funding support through the IRA under the Biden administration. And what we see in the region, and not only in South Africa, but both in the region, is that delivering support to finance sustainable finance and creating a really tight environment in which companies are incentivized by the state in order to support, that forward faster SDGs and then 6 or so transitions. So for me, I think the state in South Africa hopefully to pick up steam, really being deliberate in supporting, especially critical mineral states that are key towards just energy transition, to really catalyze companies, including SMEs and so on, into that, into the sustainability and innovation space. Thank you.
Beautiful points, and I think that speaks very strongly actually to the rationale for today, isn't it? So we do critically need to work together, as we pointed out. We want to collaborate with public sector, and you know what, if you're going to have a good collaboration, it starts with actually asking for the kind of support that you need. So I was very excited to see a handshake on the stage here earlier today, where those policy needs assessments, I think we saw them characterised in the Big Five, in terms of what we want it simpler, we want it integrated, we want the incentive, it shouldn't be just punitive. We've got these specific industry areas where we want to see accelerated policy change written in the report, and we gave it over today. We've got to ask for what we want, and then hopefully that can enable support that we need in the future. So that's, I think, a very well-made point in terms of enabling that collaboration. We cannot do it alone. It's a phrase. It gets so cliched, doesn't it? And it's so true.
I think I wanted to add to that from a business perspective is what we're seeing, and I think particularly with the GNU, what we're seeing is there are great examples where private and state are working together. And I think those examples inspire us to do more. It's not about who's getting to the table first. It's about sharing the sun and coming together. So your comment is a call to action. And I think what today through Impanda and the Global Compact, that is a huge step in moving forward in that regard. As business, it's frustrating, but we got to figure it out, and we got to work together.
Okay, was there anyone else? There was. I'm going to call it the last one, because otherwise we'll still be here at sort of 7 this evening, and then I'll come into closing remarks.
No pressure. Thank you very much for an insightful panel. I had 2 questions, but I think the lady answered my first question around the 60 billion rand township economy. My name is Masiabi from Future Growth Asset Management. I think to comment like the gentleman at the back, I think what would have been useful would have been maybe a panel that also talks to private debt and how that can actually help to catalyze innovation through sustainable finance. Because the asset management space, because we deal with big amounts from a pension funds perspective, and there is that huge imperative from an SDG perspective or making an impact perspective, we could bring those insights to the fore. So that's number 1. But number 2, I want to challenge the banks, because in the spirit of collaboration, we talk about the fact that, we all need to work together. From a pension funds perspective, we are mandated to also support other businesses, women-led businesses. We've seen a lot of strong women-led businesses, for example, in the energy space. But what we have seen is that, banks have pretty much taken those deals, squeezed the margins of those deals, and unfortunately, from a level playing field perspective, it becomes very challenging. Now, if you're a woman-led asset manager and you are expected to give financial returns to your clients, you actually cannot do that because those types of deals do not make sense for you. So how do they bring that social element to the conversation when they're thinking about, sort of like structuring themselves? Because, banks are powerful, and we do find that sometimes they do actually price us completely out, and it just doesn't make financial sense at all. Thank you.
Wow, it sounds like it's a whole additional panel. I completely accept your recommendation that it is a topic that needs to have exploration and bigger. Do we have any immediate responses from that on the panel? We've got she's going to give you a response about this margin crushing insinuation.
I don't think you should give it though. On the margin crushing one. Can I say that all banks are having that issue because it's such a competitive space. We're all going, how are they doing that deal? It doesn't make sense. So don't feel like we are powerful and we are trying to exert power. We are also like, damn it, how did they manage to get that right? Like truly, right?
Yeah.
But on the social side, I think for all of us, the social element of sustainability is part of our sustainable finance framework. We are looking at the impact on the social economy, whether it's for jobs, whether it's for women-owned businesses, whether it's for affordable housing. Like we're all looking at those social aspects, and they're part of our sustainable finance framework.
Maybe if I may add, I believe that's where creativity and innovation comes, because when we have to maybe support women, there is a full value chain. If the banks are funding, I'm sure there is a hope that the asset manager can still do, where they can quantify the social impact. So we must also be quite creative. I think that's what this is all about, is finding a way to impact, not necessarily to financially, but to impact. And I think that is maybe the challenge I will put back to you, to say, how can you impact? Still in a financial way, but how can you impact the women and provide support? And I'm sure there are many ways that can be done.
Beautiful. And I think on that note, what we probably will do is just go through a series of closing comments. It's a huge topic, this one, and it contains a wealth of detail. But if sort of on your behalf and also that of Absa, you can give one thrusting closing remark about what it is we need to do to catalyse innovation. Where do you go with that?
Well, for me, first of all, I want to end by saying thank you. Thank you for being here. It's an honor and a privilege. And my closing remark will be that we all know that innovation is challenging because the outcome are very uncertain, and it is challenging for all of us. And for me, it's about the collaboration, and the courage not to look at our current challenges, because we are all having challenges, the economic challenges, the pandemic challenges. There's quite a lot of societal challenges that when we deal with them, we can quickly just focus on today. But it's about focusing on today's challenges, but also being creative about tomorrow, having tomorrow in mind, not forgetting that we have to look at today, but remembering tomorrow, and talk about our purpose, because we say empowering Africa's tomorrow together, one step at a time. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, very nice, and the simplicity that comes with the one step at a time part, I think, is kind and gentle. It makes it accessible, doesn't it? And so very powerful words. Gary, closing remarks. Catalyzing innovation.
I think for me, going back to my quote, it's around going backwards and saying where are we now and where are we going? Because I feel like knowledge is such a fundamental part in innovation that often is, because people are either looking to forward to understand what currently is required, or they're looking to backwards to understand what the future requires. So we need a different way of integrated thinking around our context, around our past, around our present, around our future, how everything comes together, especially with this space that we're in. Like I think when we're speaking around this priority has gone down for me with SDG 9. I don't necessarily think it's gone down. I think it's not a priority, but when you look at all the solutions that come up with what's being escalated, we see that's what the innovation is. Whether it's with the power generation, what's happening in the different fields, whether it's through sustainable consumption and the different things that the different consumptions are doing, it's not necessarily because they all integrate. So we need to get to that level of thinking where we're not binary. We are thinking broader, systems level type thinking. So for me, that's what's the most important part, like capacitating ourselves to think in a broader way in order for us to have new ideas that can fit now and the future.
Beautiful, and really makes me think, of the as we look backwards and gather information, we know that knowledge is power. Too many people in this process have explained that they don't have access to the best practice knowledges, that they don't have access to the training that is needed. And I think enabling and sharing that information is again something that the VNR endeavours to do, that we can do an ever much better job of, to make sure that that knowledge is equitably available and shared. Give us a closer there, Sam.
Sure. So now, at the risk of repeating myself, I think, or someone else, everyone today, or many people today, have spoken about how complex this is, right? But we have to go with that complexity and think about how we attack it together. What are the ambitions? We've got our ambitions. So together we can get moving on those, because we need to get to the doing part now too. And we keep moving quite swiftly on them. I mean, we're doing some stuff. The VNR proves we're doing some stuff. But there's a lot more that needs to be done at the 17% or something behind. So I'm going to say that through collaboration we can build together and grow stronger and be quicker.
She wants 83, doesn't she? Where's the action? So beautiful. I think we can work at it. We just quantify. I love the analytical sort of feel that FS always brings to the table. It makes it tangible, and when we can see a tangible target, we can go for it. One step at a time. Tina, closing remark.
Well, I think everything around what was said. At the end of the day, when you are a small to medium or micro-sized enterprise, you have a whole lot of other things to worry about, right? You've got to get your business running. You've got to get your cash. You've got to make sure things happen. So I think the easiest way I can say has helped us, and perhaps a lesson learned, is keep things as simple as possible. Do not be distracted by too much noise. Otherwise you won't be doing that. And so the ability to get things done and to act, to do pilots, to go ahead, to do stuff, actually you learn. A baby learns through falling and walking. But I do want to bring us back to South Africa. I think this is really, I'm very passionate about this. You can hear I'm a big Bach fan. But it is about our country. It is about the 62 million South Africans that live in this country. Yes, with the expansion into Africa, And it is about our beautiful country, our nature, our environment that we live in. So if we don't have a bigger purpose than just doing stuff, and, you know, we look at how our nation comes together. So for me, you know, fill your heart with it, simplify it, don't reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of other people who have done it before. Go get it and just do it.
Beautiful, and I think that speaks to reward and recognition and motivation for the road. You know, we can often self-flagellate, especially women, when it comes to getting something done. You get to a milestone like this and it says, oh, you know, we've got still a very long way to go. And at the same time, having spent some time looking at the success stories that have come up through this process, actually there is a lot to celebrate and recognise as well. So actually back full circle to the beginning, certainly as part of my close, I'd like to focus on thanks as well. There are a lot of people that are in this room here today that have contributed to the process of this voluntary national review coming together. It was a mammoth task, and it was a huge privilege to work with and to collaborate with all of you on the process. Certainly from my perspective, I'm also itchy and scritchy around this action. And so it feels like over the course of the last year, Panda has done a PhD in sustainability and more, particularly in terms of what it takes to provide a drumbeat for your strategic change in sustainability, how to give those steady, simple steps the support that they need. And I'm really hoping that we're going to see this launch as the beginning of the process, not the end of the process. The report is actually only going to go to the high-level political forum in July next year. We have a whole year of the time that it's available until the delivery of the 2030 agenda to get there. We saw a phenomenal story being played today from ABSA, that it's their success story to build motivation, to build that clock-like awareness and positive message. You won't be surprised to hear that Tina's got her story in the pipeline to come out next to release. Most of you are aware that we've been in the process of getting provisional approval from GCNSA to understand how to do more stories, to keep releasing them, to celebrate each other, and what resonates in terms of that. We really hope that we can have a communication campaign that shares the very comprehensive and detailed information that this voluntary national review report contains, piece by piece, step by step, so that it can provide some of that support and awareness that companies are asking for, so urgently to support their progress. So a very, very big thank you from me. Very big thank you to my gorgeous, amazing and incredibly charismatic, talented panelists as well. I thought you did superbly. Maybe a little round of applause. Are we supposed to stand here for a photo quickly before we get back down? Yeah. It's half past three in the afternoon, Christine.
Thank you so much. We are way past time, 30 minutes into time. Just give me a few minutes, please, of your time. As I said, my name is Rachel Bokozi from the Global Compact Network South Africa. So we should have had more time for questions, but because we're out of time, we won't have that. But this is just the beginning. We're just launching the report. We've handed it over to the minister. We're going to take this report to the sectors to talk about main issues that are emanating. So please look out for those discussions that are coming your way. Already we have some ideas from the finance sector here. There's going to be so many of them. And my duty really is just to give a few thank yous, highlight a few things. I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm sure I'm between your lunch now, so the lunch time, and just say what the way forward will be from our side as a Global Compact Network South Africa. Just to say thank you, a few thank yous again. In closing, the minister in her absence, thank you for her for coming today. We want to thank the National Planning Commission. We saw Mr. Lusanda Batala, he was here earlier. I'm sure he's left, but just to say thank you. The UN Resident Coordinator himself who was here, who made time to be here. Our sponsors, our co-sponsor, ABSA, our silver sponsor, Anglo. I see Yvonne is still here, I think. Thank you so much. Strategic partners. Some couldn't be here. because of other commitments. Just to say thank you to Mineral Council South Africa, to say thank you to BLSA, BUSA, and the NBI, and to all speakers today. Can you give them a round of applause, please? And of course to Christine Impanda. Christy has already been, in fact, my executive director. Thank you, Christy. And also to the CEO of Mungano ESG, Sophie, who helped us put this event together. I'm sure she's out there. Sophie, thank you so much. And of course, the Global Compact team, they worked so hard to put this together. Thank you. They're also outside. For a round of applause, please, to them. And to all of you for sitting here and making time. We are way past time, but thank you so much. A round of applause to you also. Here highlights, one or two only. I had a long speech here, here highlights. But just to pick a few, as indicated my executive director, we are way behind. Only 17% of the SDGs are achieved. So we need to go faster to reach that 2030 agenda. And there are those low-lying things we can do and implement. For example, action on SDG 9 on innovation. It was very clear today that a lot has to be done on innovation, like the panel also showed. SDG 5 can be also an enabler for us to get there. And also, as indicated by the minister, the minister said the following: private sector is critical key driver for the SDGs. We have the power as private sector to influence positively social and environmental change. That's what the minister says. So our call to action to you is as follows: as we are behind, we have to work collectively, we have to collaborate, we have to innovate. Let's remember that. And also we say as a Global Compact Network South Africa, we'll continue helping you to move forward faster. We'll be helping you in your sustainability journeys. As the RC said, some of you may not be part of us already, but I'm sure you'll be joining us soon. We will be helping you, going forward, helping you, setting those ambitious, scalable, and impactful goals so that we can reach the 2030 agenda. With that said, let us continue to innovate, collaborate, and taking those bold actions together too, so that we build a better South Africa's private sector, as all of us sitting in this room who are different partners. Thank you so much.